Hi, my name is Nia, and today I'll be spilling the tea about something that happened not so long ago to some friends of mine. One of my best friends, named Felipe, was recently in a relationship with one of my friends, named Daniela. Now, there's another classmate of mine whose name is Gabriela. She was also a friend of Felipe's, a very close friend, in fact. Felipe and Daniela were very affectionate and seemed very good together, even though they had their arguments like a normal couple would. Slowly, these became frequent due to one person in particular, Gabriela.
Gabriela's behavior toward Felipe made Daniela constantly suspicious of her boyfriend's relationship with a girl he met quite recently. Daniela was always on the defensive with all the woman who had contact with Felipe. She was insecure about herself and her relationship. Gabriela and Felipe were treating each other in a way that only made the situation worse, causing her to distrust Felipe even more. Daniela was sure that Felipe was cheating on her with Gabriela, blind by the assumptions she had made. She did not let anything change her way of thinking.
One day, Daniela saw something that she immediately disliked in Felipe's and Gabriela's behavior. Even though they were used to treating each other that way, and Felipe had mentioned it countless times to Daniela, but she never expressed her discomfort with their treatment. Daniela claimed to be right and ignored Felipe's explanations. That day, Daniela decided to act tough towards Felipe without talking to him about what had happened. Days later, Daniela and Felipe decided to end their relationship for both their sakes. However, Daniela, Felipe, and Gabriela never clarified things, and each one of them was left with their own point of view without trying to clarify the matter. Their opinions about each other remained unchanged.
When the matter settled, I decided to talk to each of them to find out what they thought. When I spoke to Daniela, I understood that she would never change her mind about what she believed Felipe had done, even though I already knew most of where Daniela's point stood, which was based mostly on defending that she was the one who was right. At this moment, what mattered most to me was Felipe and Gabriela's point of view.
I started a simple conversation with Felipe, and slowly I was reaching the topic of my interest. Felipe explained to me that he tried not to make Daniela insecure and even gave her an explanation about every single situation that could make her feel this way. Despite this, Daniela didn't hear him. Finally, Felipe told me his conclusion. All women are the same.
On the other hand, when I had a small talk with Gabriela, I could see how her thoughts were consuming her. She was drowning in the thought that everything had happened because of her. Felipe had been left without a partner because of her. For Gabriela, the fault was hers, and only hers. She was responsible for everything.
Now that you've heard the story, did you notice those thoughts each of them had? Those thoughts being all women are the same. I am the one who's right. It's all my fault. This type of thoughts are called cognitive distortions. But what are cognitive distortions?
The American Psychology Association defines a cognitive distortion as an inaccurate way of thinking. This is a fairly typical mental process that occurs in all people to varying degrees. The brain creates these mental filters as a shortcut to reduce the burden of processing lots of information at once. However, this can use cause oversimplification of complex thoughts, which can make a person feel badly about themselves.
There are 15 types of cognitive distortions, which are labeling, RR nodding, autonomous thinking, mental filtering, emotional reasoning, mind reading, catastrophizing, overgeneralizing, personalization, should statements, magnification and minimization, guile, confirmatory bias, fallacy of reason, fallacy of divine reward, and fallacy of control.
Now, cognitive distortions are normalized in society nowadays, and there are a lot of myths and misconceptions. According to PsychCentral.com, these are some myths about cognitive behavioral therapy. Myth number 1: CBT is a rigid, one-size-fits-all approach, where a clinician applies a specific technique to a specific problem. Myth number 2. CBT is simply shifting negative thoughts to positive ones. Myth number 3. CBT does not believe in the unconscious. Myth number 4. CBT ignores emotions. Myth number 5. CBT isn't concerned with a client's past or their childhood. We shouldn't normalize cognitive distortions because, in the end, they still have a huge impact on our daily lives and our social relationships. We can be affected by this in our daily lives even without knowing it, and mostly in social relationships. Thanks to the normalization of cognitive distortions, we have thoughts that we perceive as regular thoughts, but they are actually harmful to ourselves. And most of the time, these types of thoughts are produced by social situations.
You need to identify and track the cognitive distortions in your daily thinking first, before you start working to change them. You can do this by creating a list of troublesome thoughts throughout the day. As you're having them, this will allow you to examine them later for matches with a list of cognitive distortions. An examination of your cognitive distortions allows you to see which distortions that you prefer. Additionally, this process allows you to think about each problem or predicament in a more natural or realistic manner.
An alternative to self-talk that is harsh and demanding is to talk to ourselves in the same compassionate and caring way that we will talk with a friend in a similar situation. We are frequently much harder on ourselves than the people we care about in our life, whether to be in a friend or family member. We will never think that of speaking to a close friend in the way we speak to ourselves in our own mind.
The provision of school-based mental health support service has been a long-standing priority for best practice service delivery models in school with appropriate training, such as guidance counselors, psychologists, school psychologists, and social workers, are ideally positioned to be the first-line providers of counseling service to children and youth.
Harvard Health states that the four self-care of cognitive distortions are a focus on gratitude for what is going well in my life and for those around me, the mindfulness and the presence in the moment, the engaging in healthy habits, like for example the exercise, the good nutrition, and the ideally sleep, and finally the connection with others, and the open and honest communication, and the self-empathy.
According to the Very Well Health, you can often gain control over the thought pattern that create due to the cognitive distortions. By looking within and exploring your feelings, here are some things of that you can do. Avoid salutes. Things are relatively black and white. If that's how you see it, if your feeling may be colored by facts that aren't true. Reading and dying in our health, questions and feelings.
Remove labels. Look at all parties without labels, including yourself. Whenever you see a person as one thing, such as lazy, you can use that as an excuse for the actions and not take an honest look at yourself.
Focus on positive. With the cognitive distortions, your instinct will be focused on the negative. Instead, consider all of positives, including good things about the person, good comments that were we made, and the good experiences you can have. Don't discount or dismiss them.
Cognitive distortions are an erroneous way of thinking, whether due to our own actions or situations we go through. The frequency of this thought presenting a person can generate something that could later be diagnosed with the help of a professional. Even so, we can take own actions against this by analyzing and correcting our